All right. Good evening, gentlemen. Here tonight to give a speech on the three common causes of household fires. And we're going to talk about those three causes in detail a little bit. Let me just give you a little history of myself. Obviously in uniform, so I do work for the Columbus Division of Fire. I'm a lieutenant there. I started my career in a little volunteer fire department in Western New York, kind of a rural, suburban type of department, and now all the way up through into Columbus, where I work a very urban area. So I can speak to, and I've been witness to, and have been on multiple runs that many of these causes come from. There's kind of two different main fires that happen, and one is accidental, and that's the bulk of what we're going to go into, are the accidental or the preventable. There's always intentional, and that's a whole other component. We're not going to dive into that tonight. Fire Prevention Week is next week, so this topic certainly is good timing. It's October 4th through the 10th, so hopefully you can take some of these messages home and put them to good use. All right, so the three topics that we're going to discuss, or at least the ones that happen a lot, are unattended cooking, overloaded electrical outlets, and poor housekeeping. Those are the three primary causes, and let me just write those down. Got a good red marker. All right. So one is unattended cooking. We'll go into that, some of the details. Two was the overloaded electrical. And the final is poor housekeeping. All right, so let's start with the first, the unattended cooking. Kind of break that down. The first one would be people that leave items in their stove. So for storage reasons, you store an old pizza box in the oven, or some plastics because you don't have storage in a cabinet, and you go to preheat the oven, and sure enough, starts a fire. Certainly something I've seen on multiple levels. Even in my own house, my wife left a Tupperware in the oven one day, preheated, and sure enough, smoke pouring out of the oven, and kids are sleeping upstairs with newborns. So. The second is accidental grease splash. So you're either cooking on a stove top and grease splashes out, or if you're a really good chef and you're cooking with alcohol and that splashes out, sometimes that flares up. If you have flammables nearby, that can certainly cause a fire that you can't control. The other one that is coming up in another month or two would be the turkey fryer issue. You drop the turkey, it's got a little moisture in it. You're cooking in your garage, sure enough it flares up and gets in your garage. So the better option there would be to cook on the back porch, even though it's a little cold and a little unprotected. It's certainly the safer option. And the final one would just be unattended. So everybody's working longer hours, they're coming home at 11 o'clock, midnight, throw something on the stove and fall asleep, long day at the office, whatever. This kind of ties in to a component that goes into all of these that we'll dive into quicker, but smoke detector. So the smoke detector's not hooked up, dead battery, you take it out, sure enough, you're not warned in a larger fire and you're asleep, so the bigger concern. So that's the first cause. The second would be the overloaded electrical items. And typically we see this around the holidays. Obviously tons of Christmas lights. I'm a huge Christmas person. My wife calls me Griswold. So, putting the wrong sockets in, overloading. Another big one with overloading is even if you're using an appropriate extension cord, is it really rated for what you're using? So we'll see fires where somebody will have an AC unit running and they've got one of the smaller electrical cords. It just can't handle that load. And so, it works, but then, it runs for hours and hours on a long summer night. Sure enough, 2 in the morning, you're asleep and that cord catches fire. And the final one would be just just old wiring in the house, and again, that might not be in your control at the moment, but plugging high draw demand electrical items into older outlets. Again, that hopefully, if it's a new house, not an issue. Code has helped a lot with that. No one likes too much regulation, but I can tell you from our point of view, it has really declined the amount of fires. And then the last one is poor housekeeping. So this topic is a challenging one because you're trying to tell people how they should live or how they should carry themselves, but it definitely leads to a lot of fires. If there's a lot of clutter around, there's flammables that are stored in the wrong places, whether it's near a stove, a dryer, a furnace, that type of stuff just packed up against things. Going back a little bit to the electrical, if those items are pushed up against, they make them flammable, and sure enough, through storing them in an inappropriate way, start a fire. On the side of, this isn't the cause of it, but I can tell you through going to fires, if it's a hoarder type house or there's a lot of unkept stuff, it really challenges to the extinguishment and or the rescue of people in it. You've seen those TV shows. If you can imagine closing your eyes with zero visibility and trying to find your way through to find a victim, it's certainly a challenge. So not that that's the preventative part, but I can tell you it's certainly a challenge for our industry. So in summary, you have these 3 topics. They are preventable. Hopefully you can go home, put some of those to good use. If I can say the biggest one, and even though it's not that topic and I kind of touched on it, was a smoke detector. Don't cook one night and have a little bit of smoke come off. You take it off, take the battery and set it aside. Be diligent to make sure that gets back up. And in conclusion, this can happen to you. A lot of people are, I took a course once where they said, why do police departments get more funding than fire? Well, because fire, most people think, that can't happen to me. Where police, you feel there's a threat, and so you're willing to throw money at that to please protect me. Trust me, it can happen to you. I've seen it multiple times. And again, with Fire Prevention Week coming up, change your smoke detector batteries and try to put some of these to good use. All right? Thank you so much.